Now the first technique. Put mind stuff in such inexpressible fineness above, below, and in your heart. Three things. First, if knowledge is important, then head is the center. If childlike innocence is important, then heart is the center. The child lives in the heart. We live in the head. The child feels. We think. Even when we say that we feel, we think that we feel. Thinking comes to be primary to us. Feeling becomes secondary. Thinking is the tool for science and feeling is the tool for relation. You must start to be a feeling organism again. And both the dimensions are different. When you think, you remain separate. When you feel, you melt. Think about a flower, a rose flower. When you think you are separate, there is a gap, a distance, a space. For thinking, space is needed. For thoughts to move, distance is needed. Feel the flower, the gap disappears, the distance drops. Because for feeling, distance is the barrier. Closer you come, the more you feel. A moment comes when even closeness appears to be a sort of distance, and then melting happens. Then you cannot feel the boundaries where you are and where the flower is, where you end and where the flower begins. Then boundaries melt into each other. The flower enters in you in a way, you enter in the flower in a way. Feeling is losing the boundaries. Thinking is creating the boundaries. That's why thinking always insists on definitions. Because without definitions, you cannot create boundaries. So thinking says, define first. And feeling says, don't define. If you define, feeling stops. The child feels, we think. The child comes close to existence. He melts and allows the existence to melt in him. We are isolated, imprisoned in the head. We are like islands. This sutra says that come back to the heart center. Start feeling things. This will be a great experiment if you start feeling things. Whatsoever you do, give a certain amount of your time, energy, to feeling. You are sitting here, you can listen to me, but that will be part of thinking. You can also feel me here, but that will not be a part of thinking. You can feel my presence, then definitions are lost. Then really, if you come to a moment of feeling, you don't know who is speaking and who is listening. This can happen right this very moment. Then the speaker becomes the listener and the listener becomes the speaker. Then really they are not two, rather two poles of one phenomena. On one pole is the speaker, on another pole is the listener. But these are just poles, isolated. They are not real. The real thing is just in between these two, the life, the flow. Whenever you feel something else, then your ego becomes important. Object and subject lose their definitions. A flow, a wave exists. On one pole the speaker, on another pole the listener, but the life is the wave. This sutra says the basic thing is to come back to the heart center, but how to come to it? Put mind stuff in such inexpressible fineness, above, below, and in your heart. The word mind stuff is not a good translation of the original Sanskrit word chitta. But English has no other equivalent. So it is good in a way, it carries the meaning. Not mind, but mind stuff. Mind means mentation, thinking, thoughts. Mind stuff means the background upon which these thoughts float. Just like in the sky, clouds move. Clouds are the thoughts, and the sky is the background upon which they move. That sky, consciousness, has been called mind stuff. Your mind can be without thoughts, then it is chitta. Then it is pure mind. When it is with thoughts, it is impure mind. If your mind can be without thoughts, then it is very subtle. The subtlest thing possible in existence. You cannot conceive a more subtle possibility. Consciousness is the most subtle thing. So when there are no thoughts in the mind, you have pure mind. This pure mind can move towards the heart. The impure mind cannot move towards the heart. And by impurity, I don't mean any immoral thoughts in the mind. By impurity, I mean all thoughts. Thought as such is impure. So even if you are thinking of God, it is an impurity. Because the cloud is moving. The cloud is very white, but the cloud is there. And the purity of the space is not there. The cloudless sky is not there. A cloud may be a black cloud, a sexual thought moving in the mind. Other cloud may be a white cloud, beautiful, a prayer moving in the mind. But in both the cases, the pure mind is not there. It is impure, clouded. And if the mind is clouded, you cannot move to the heart. This has to be understood. Because with thoughts, you cling in the head. They are the roots unless those roots are cut, you cannot fall back to the heart. The child remains in the heart up to the moment only when thoughts crystallize and when thoughts start floating in his mind. Then they take roots. Then through education, culture, cultivation, they become rooted. Then by and by, the consciousness moves from the heart to the head. The consciousness can remain in the head only if there are thoughts. This is basic. If there are no thoughts, consciousness immediately drops back to its original innocence in the heart. Hence, so much emphasis on meditation. So much emphasis on non-thinking, thoughtless awareness, choiceless awareness. Our Buddha's word, right mindfulness. Just mindfulness without any thoughts. Just being aware. What happens? A very great phenomena happens because the roots are cut. Immediately consciousness drops back to the heart, to the original place where it was. You become a child again. Jesus says only those who are like children will enter into the kingdom of my God. He refers to such persons whose consciousness has come back to the heart. They have become innocent, childlike. But the first basic requirement is put mind stuff in such inexpressible fineness. Thoughts can be expressed. There is not a single thought which is inexpressible, or there can be. If it is inexpressible, you cannot think it. If you can think it, it is expressible. So there is not a single thought which you can say inexpressible. The moment you can think it, it has become expressible. You have already expressed it to yourself. Consciousness, pure consciousness, is inexpressible. That's why mystics go on saying they cannot express what they know. Logicians always raise the question that if you know, then why you cannot say it? And their argument has meaning and significance. If you really say that you know, then why can't you express? For a logician, knowledge must be expressible. That which can be known can be made known to others. There is no problem. If you have known it, then where is the problem? You can make it known to others. But the mystic's knowledge is not of thoughts. He has not known it as a thought. He has known it as a feeling. So really it is not good to say that I know God. It is better to say I feel. It is not good to say that I have known God. It is better to say I have felt Him. That is a more accurate description of the phenomena. The knowledge is through the heart. It is like feeling. It is not like knowledge.